And as promised, Alec Avierinos joins me again in studio. Alec, welcome back. I should say welcome back to myself there.
Yeah, you've been away for a couple
Yeah,
of
you've
weeks.
been here more than I've
Yeah,
been.
yeah, it's a pleasure to be back and to be chatting to you again
Yeah,
today.
good to have you here. We've got a challenge on our hands today, though, because it's we didn't pick the nicest of weather days to talk about exercise. Today's one of those days when people really want to stay in bed.
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't go out running in the rain this morning
Yes,
either.
at least being transparent about that. It was chilly this morning. Rain started to fall quite early heading in this way. But we are talking exercise. I know you guys talked fasting last week. We've been through so many different aspects of living a healthier life. And maybe just a reminder for our listeners, this is about more than exercise or eating right. This is about making a spiritual decision. That's what the show's
Yeah,
all about. Making a spiritual decision to live a life that glorifies God and then pulls out of you what God has placed inside of you, all of your potential.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can best do that if your spirit is housed in a healthy, strong body. So the three aspects, the spiritual, the nutrition, and the physical exercise, are all really tightly integrated and linked together. So when we talk about the one, we can't exclude the other. So it's difficult to try and get into detail. Today we're going to go more into detail around physical fitness and the types of training and the progression that you go through. But before we do that, I just want to really just do a bit of a revision and a recap just to set the scene so that people that are listening can actually make wise and informed decisions around their training decisions going forward.
Yeah, I want to remind people, though, just quickly, that they can tune in not just on the air, but also on Facebook. We're on Facebook Live at the moment and having this conversation. Even afterwards, if you want to share this conversation with somebody that you love or that you know and you feel like it's something that somebody needs to hear, then you can always share that Facebook link. Let's talk
Yeah.
revision. Let's talk about what we've said thus far.
Yeah, also the show notes are available on the almightywarrior.me website to download. So today's lesson 9 or whatever is the lesson, is it a what do we want to call
Let's
it?
talk a talk number 9.
Talk number 9. So yeah, so I think that for starters, it's really important that you spiritually that you identify your why. So if you want to find out more about your why, Simon Sinek has got a lot to say and really concisely defines how you can, your passion and your purpose needs to be the overriding driver. So whether that is to avoid lifestyle diseases or whether that is on the positive side to want to enjoy your old age and time with your family and children, that's what needs to drive you, is deciding what your why is. And then just to say that every athlete, every champion had to, by faith, develop their potential, and that taking action fuels that your faith. So the Bible is very much a call to action, and there's this whole parallel of practical implementation of your faith and nurturing and caring for your body. So the I want to start by just a quick overview on nutrition, and that's saying that your solution to being overweight is to actually sort out and fix your nutrition. So it's what you eat, when you eat, and how much you eat. And last week we went into fasting in detail. Really strongly recommend fasting. It has numerous benefits, and people can go and have a look at that. And then on the physical training side, your physical training is to improve your muscle mass. So it's the composition of your body, the fat to muscle ratio, is to improve your strength, your mobility, and your physical fitness. So there once we get into that, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But I just want to do a quick revision on insulin. So basically, every single time you need to digest food, your body produces insulin. Insulin's role is to store your energy in one of three places, either in your liver or in your muscles, or in body fat, and in those orders. So your liver is the primary source of readily accessible energy, and you've got about 2 hours at a high, relatively high intensity of energy stored in your liver. Once that's depleted, your body uses stores that are of energy in your muscles, and only after those are depleted can you start burning fat. But you can't access and burn fat unless your heart rate is not elevated too high or insulin is not present. So if insulin is present, it prohibits you from utilizing fat as an energy store. So you're starting to get an idea of why it's so difficult to exercise away body fat, because you need to have depleted your stores in your liver and your muscles first. You have to be at an elevated heart rate, and you have to have no insulin present. So it's if you take those preconditions into consideration and you want to meet all those conditions, it's quite a mission to actually train away fat. So you need to lose your weight by fixing your nutrition, and you need to fix your muscle mass and your mobility and strength by physical exercise and training.
Yeah, which is a much different way than most people approach this, because a lot of people are approaching exercise to lose that fat and then end up demotivated because they don't see the result they expected and then stop the training.
Yeah, so when you do train and you start training, you're going to increase your muscle mass, and muscle mass weighs more than fat. You're not losing fat through training, so your weight could actually go up, not down, and then you are demotivated. So that's why I'm saying the two fit so closely together. So sorting out your nutrition for weight loss and sorting out your exercise to improve your physical fitness.
Well, for those, sorry, Alec, for those that you mentioned it earlier, but for those joining now, these show notes are actually available.
Yes.
Really encouraging people to go and get it, because you've really put that out so well in the show notes, in this, what we're talking about. And another thing that you introduce really nice as we talk about exercise is about diagnosis. It's the ability to truly investigate self and then know where you are and judge yourself accurately, because if you don't start at the right place, if you want to start as a professional but you're a beginner, or start as a beginner but you're professional, you can also make some big mistakes.
Yes, so there, I mean, we talk about sort of the progression, and most people or often miss out on you're supposed to first train for your health, then mobility and strength, and then finally performance and physique. So particularly youngsters are after bodybuilding to go and improve their physique, and they neglect the health and the mobility and the underlying strength that's required. So if you're a beginner and you're starting out, it's very important to look at your mobility, strength aspects are around improving your health, and just to sort of differentiate between the two, you get the fitness sort of side of it, which is your cardiovascular fitness, and that's exercises and things like walking and running and swimming and cycling, where you are elevating your heart rate and you're sustaining that elevated heart rate, and that is normally referred to as aerobic training. And that can contribute up to 15% of improving your muscle mass, whereas resistance training can make an improvement of between 75% and 95%. So you're starting to get an idea why, if you don't do resistance training, you're having a very small impact on improving your muscle mass. And your muscle mass is what you start losing as you age, and that compromises your immune system. So it is really important that we understand how these fit in, and that you need to do a combination of cardiovascular exercise, the walking, the running, the swimming, as well as resistance training, and we'll get into the different types of that in a moment.
A great quote in the notes as well by Craig Rochelle, which I think ties into the spiritual so well, and it's again being honest with yourself. If you don't mind, I'm going to read it, and then you can talk about it. But we judge others by their actions, often, while we judge ourselves by our intentions. Isn't that true?
Yeah, so the best way to actually do a self-evaluation is to look historically at what you have done and judge yourself by your actions, and make your plans based on what you've done, not what you intend to do in the future. So that's where your intentions come into it. So you've got all the good intentions to do something, but if you look back historically, you haven't actually pulled through with them. So you need to look and have an honest evaluation and decide whether you fitting into sort of the beginner, intermediate, advanced, or pro category in each of the three disciplines.
And then, like most of the things we've talked about, nutrition, etc., you've just got to start somewhere. Take action. You've got to get going.
So in the beginner stage, you're wanting to move from being sedentary to being active. In the intermediate stage, you want to move from being inconsistent to being consistent. And then in the advanced stage, you want to make sure that you are moving from being sort of focused to being well-rounded. So a lot of athletes that are pick a particular sport end up focusing just on a sport, for argument's sake, cycling or running, and they neglect the strength training, the mobility training, and they end up being more susceptible to injuries because they're pushing one aspect of their of the requirement as opposed to becoming a well-rounded athlete. And then we won't touch on the pro level in each of the categories because those guys really do know what they're doing. So yeah, from our side at Almighty Warriors, we focus on getting you through the first three levels. And then once you sort of get to the pro level, you really do know what you are up to.
I think maybe another thing, Alec, as somebody that's really proved himself in this, I think one of the things that I've realized with my sort of starting and stopping is that beginner stage, that people underestimate the value of that mobility, stability, flexibility, that sort of stretching, and just a brisk walk for somebody that's actually not that healthy, and especially if you've been athletic before and maybe you've gone through a season where you haven't trained, etc. For a lot of people, it feels really demotivational because they feel like I'm not doing anything, but you're actually doing a lot.
Yes. So walking in particular, most people can walk. Even if you are seriously overweight and obese, you can still walk. And that's a really good place to get started. And then the trick comes into being consistent. So if you can consistently pursue the walking, then you will start getting benefits from it. So you really need to get active. And I encourage people to experiment and find what excites them and what interests them so that they can actually do that and pursue it.
Well, we're being really practical in the notes today as well, talking about these levels of progression. If you actually go and get these show notes, there's some really nice examples of each of these levels and what that would entail and what you can do, how many days a week. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about that.
Sure.
Muscle mass. How do you want to split this up for people that are looking for some practical advice?
Well, if we look at the four categories, so you've got the stability, flexibility, and mobility. There you're looking at training with a relatively average or a low heart rate. You're looking at things like stretching, Pilates, balance, and it's really about building a functional base. On the strength side of things, you've got a fluctuating heart rate, so you're often training, you're doing sets of exercise and then you're recovering. And there, the main exercises for strength are squats, deadlift, bench press, and those are exercises where you're using a lot of muscle groups, and they're actually quite easy to do with or without additional weight. So you can squat with just your body weight. Encouraging people, they don't need to actually be members of a gym. And that is essential for building your muscle mass. And then you move on to the aerobic training, where you've got an elevated and sustained high heart rate or higher heart rate. And that's what we were mentioning, the walking, running, biking, swimming, canoeing. And that improves your general fitness. And then on the anaerobic side, you start moving into short bursts of maximal exertion. And this does two things. So there you're starting to work on cardiovascular, but also strength. So HIIT training, which is, the abbreviation is HIIT. It stands for high intensity interval training, where you are probably training for sort of 2 or 3 minutes of high intensity work, and then 50% of the time that you spent doing the exercise, you spend recovering before you do the next bout. So it's that 50% ratio works really well. And there you're talking about 100-meter sprint, Tabata type training, HIIT training, and that is essential for maintaining and building muscle mass too. So yeah, we really look at or enjoy doing a hybridized type of workout, functional training. So there we're combining your strength, mobility, and range of motion into one type of exercise. And there we play with things like kettlebells and Indian clubs and sledgehammers, and that gives you an excellent functional base. On the aerobic side, we sort of mixing, so you've got strength exercises with running in between, or skipping, or rowing, or something else. So you can do that in a gym. And there we're talking about CrossFit and super circuits. So you're working on functional performance. And then finally on the aerobic endurance, their sports are things like obstacle course racing, decafit, high rocks, where you are purposefully combining high intensity running with high intensity strength training in between. And that's where you're getting onto the functional performance side of things.
I'm really a believer in using seasons. God institutes them right from the beginning in Genesis. And every now and then we just need to start a new season, a new way of thinking. It's the first today. So 1st of June, it's the first day of winter. So there's many reasons for you out there to decide today to start. Don't wait till tomorrow. You can start today. Some really nice practical action tips as well that are here on the notes for today, that you can set realistic goals. You don't have to go climb out the full mountain today. Join a gym that can personalize a training plan to meet your goals. Find help. You don't have to do it alone. Find a training buddy. Find somebody that you can do it with. And then what I want to touch on finally as well, Alec, for our show for today, is that there are some really nice things available for free and online all over the internet, but also here through your programming. Do one of the Almighty Warrior courses or find a personalized training program. Maybe just talk about how people can access that and what's available.
Sure. So I think just to, for 1 minute, talk about the realistic goals. People really need to understand what it takes to go through from just trying to improve your muscle mass to a functional lifestyle, to functional performance, and then to elite performance. So you're talking at the minimum, you're trying to get 3 hours of exercise in over a week, combining physical exercises like the walking and running for cardiovascular, and then the strength. And then on the performance side, you're talking about athletes, pro athletes that are training for 15 plus hours a week. So you can you need to see and set realistic expectations so that you don't overdo it. And that's where, if you go onto the Almighty Warrior .me website, there's links there to Jokes Aside Fitness. They do online training programs for you too. So any gym or any personal trainer will be able to help you. But I want to reiterate that you are unique and they should be helping you achieve your goals. And you need to be clear about what your goals and objectives are, so that you can have a sustainable lifestyle change.
Absolutely. A good time to start is today. Alec, another program come and gone. Time flies. I know we had more notes and more things to talk about. Anything that you want to mention finally before we finish?
I just want to encourage people that that you're never too old to start, and from the very first workout, your body starts appreciating it and changing. So, if you realize that you need to brush your teeth daily, you also need to realize that you need to exercise and use your body daily. So use it or lose it.
Absolutely, and it's all possible. Don't for one moment think that you can't do it, that it's some sort of special skill set that other fit people have. You can do it too. Just start today. Go to the almightywarrior.me, almightywarrior.me website. You can get the notes there. You can look at some of the courses. You can find so much more information. And hey, by the way, you're trying to sign up that training buddy, share this chat that we had. Go to Impact Radio's Facebook page and share this video with that training buddy. I'm sure after that, they'll be inspired to join you as well. Thanks, Alec.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.